Hi, everybody. I am John O'Loughlin, and welcome to McDuff Lives. Well, we heard at the Super Bowl, love is the answer. Is that true? We're going to ask Marcia Keith what she thinks about that in just 30 seconds. So hang in there. We are almost started. All right. Hello back, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin once again, and you are listening to McDuff Lives and watching us live. It is just 2 minutes after 11 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Marcia Keith joins me on Fridays. I am delighted to have you back, Marcia. And well, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so let's just start a little bit early and say, love is the answer. What do you
Love is
think?
the answer. Da 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 da.
Okay. But not everybody seems to be living their lives as if love is the answer.
Oh, no. And we keep forgetting. I mean, there's a lot to not love, and it's real easy to get, sucked into that world.
There's a lot to not love.
Right.
I think I got that right.
Yes. A lot to not love.
Well,
But, it's important for us to try to remember to focus on love and kindness and compassion and being present and all the things that the Buddhist monks were trying to remind us of as they walked from Texas to Washington, D.C.
today will be my peaceful day.
Today will be my peaceful day.
And I wish you happiness, health, and peace.
Yes. Yes.
That's the message. And if everybody has peace in their heart, then there won't be any more war.
That's right.
Yeah. You just gotta spread the word, but it's not that easy, is it, Marcia?
No, it is definitely not that easy. As Banjaloon says, we identify stuff that bothers us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff that bothers us seems to get right in front of us and kind of absorb our focus. Good morning, Banjaloon, by the way, and also Rickelson music.
That's Rick Olson.
Rick Olson music.
Rick
Thank
Olson,
you. I don't know why.
He's a fellow musician, Marcia.
Hello, Rick Olson.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning.
He's out in California.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, he says near Seattle. He says it's 8 a.m.
Oh, he's way up
here near Seattle. Well, congratulations. Oh, no, that's Banjaloon. Sorry. Had the wrong one.
Yeah.
Who's near Seattle. So
that's 3-hour time difference.
So is California.
Yeah. Thank you for thank you for the footnote.
So back to all you need is love.
Yeah, da 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 da.
Yeah, that's right. This, the only thing stronger than hate is love, or what was it that was on the billboard there when Bad Bunny was performing? Is the only way to overcome hate is love. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was the message.
I haven't seen the performance yet. I know you have, so I'm going to count on you for the details. I did have a few moments to look and see what Grok was saying about it. And so I understand the great positive messages. And then I asked, has anybody been critical? And then they said, well, yeah, President Trump was very critical. And I'm sorry to see that. I think he's just trying to, as Banjaloon was saying, to bring the things that piss us off to our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are someone who thinks speaking Spanish in America it pisses you off, then yeah, they brought that to your attention. If you think that the I don't know. I mean, it seems like it was both positive and divisive, and I think all of it is intentional.
Well, I don't think Bad Bunny was divisive. I think Bad Bunny was Bad Bunny. He did his thing. He
I never
did.
saw him, never even heard of him
Me
until
either.
yeah.
But you and I are so out of touch with modern music and with pop culture. But yeah, I mean, he sings in Spanish. He is Puerto Rican, and he records and sings and performs in Spanish. And that was what was expected when he was hired to perform at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now, why somebody, was there an intent to let's get somebody controversial for the Super Bowl performance? Of course, by making controversy, they're going to get more eyes. And it was one of the most watched Super Bowl performances. But the fact is that he is, like, just the weekend before, he won a slew of Grammy Awards. And right now, he is the top selling performer in the world. So,
In the United States?
or maybe in the United States. He's one of the top selling performers in some universe that matters. And so when, others over the years have been hired to perform at the Super Bowl, they have always chosen people who are right now big stars.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to hire Bad Bunny.
That's what Grok said. He said that, it's a business decision and, while, yeah, it's divisive, but the message, the positive message outweighs it. And I think they were proven right. So, yeah, let's move on from there. But my initial, comment on our subject today is really timely compared to or with reference to the Super Bowl and the millions of people around the world who saw it and would have taken a message away from it.
Yeah, I mean, it was happy, it was people dancing, it was people enjoying themselves and savoring life, exactly the message that we want out there. It's not just about love, it's about being happy and celebrating who we are and what we have and the goodness all around us and loving the people all around us.
Considering the history of Puerto Rico, it speaks very highly of the Puerto Rican people that they would put that message out because they've been mistreated and abused for decades, and fortunately, as a result of American actions.
How well I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and from what I understand, Bad Bunny does, and he's got a real name, but anyway, he does advocate for Puerto Rican independence,
Uh-huh.
and
That ain't gonna happen.
that's not going to happen. No, I mean that advocacy has gone on forever.
This is goes back to our Monroe Doctrine stuff and how the United States is going to control the Caribbean. And there is, and that's why Cuba's in trouble right now, is because the U.S. military is saying, no, we are not going to have commies in our backyard permanently. And yeah, JFK screwed up. He stuck us with it. We made a deal, but national security is more important than
Yes.
deals that were made 70 years ago. So look,
And it's my understanding that some of the military bases, really the naval bases that had been kind of not closed, but they had been reduced in the last few decades, are being reactivated and built back up again because it is a prime location there in the Caribbean.
you know what? Maybe that's why Trump made a big deal about saying, our national security requires Greenland and we're going to take Greenland. Well, that all just fizzles off of this public scene. I guess he got what he wanted, as we said a couple of weeks ago ourselves.
Yeah.
And, so it all simmered down. But he got to assert the right to take foreign territory in the name of national security in the Western Hemisphere, and now look at what they're doing to Cuba.
Well, talk about that. Talk about what
Well,
they're
they're
doing to Cuba.
starving it.
Yeah.
They're cutting off all the shipping
Yep.
to go there, and it's interesting that Russia has stepped up to say we will provide oil to Cuba. So, are we going to have another Cuban Missile Crisis with the quarantine and the Navy goes out there? Well, I don't know. I think the Navy's a little bit busy over in the Arabian Gulf right now, looking after President Trump's interests in Iran and over there.
Indeed. Or further south in the Caribbean.
Yeah, and then also over in China, where the Chinese are saying, "Hey, we've got some really good plans. We could take Taiwan," and the Taiwanese are like getting a little nervous. So American shipping over there, are we even going to defend Taiwan? Has Trump made a deal with Xi that said we're going to take Cuba, we're going to take Greenland, and you guys can have Taiwan?
Right. Imagine that. Says Cuba's been stuck in the 50s because of sanctions.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. It's been horrible for years. I mean, you see pictures of people, they can't get new cars. So they just keep rebuilding old cars. And you see pictures of people driving these cars from the 50s that are still on the roads today in Cuba because they can't afford to trash old cars. They just have to keep rebuilding them with whatever parts that they can get. And our neighbor goes to Cuba from time to time, has acquaintances there. And she tells me that when you get there, even in the hotels, there are hours where they have to turn the electricity off because there's just not enough fuel to keep electricity going 24 hours a day.
Which is ridiculous because, I mean, Cuba could be self-sufficient if any place in the world could be. It's got a great temperature. It's got, it's got the water. It's just
beautiful. I mean, the Caribbean is gorgeous.
It's perfectly situated to be an independent country, except for the fact that independence threatens the national security state in the United States. And Venezuela, they've already done that. Of course, I didn't even think of it on my last list because that's moved out of the news cycle.
That's right.
I could call up Greenland, but a month before that it was.
And I was just commenting the other day to somebody how, wait a minute, what happened to Venezuela? There was all of this huge hoo-ha, and Venezuela was front and center in all of the discussion of what's going on in the world, and then suddenly nothing. Suddenly we're not talking about Venezuela.
That's part of what I understand to be the overall deep state psychological strategy, and that is to accelerate, to just keep on accelerating everything. They've got events planned, for years ahead, and they're going to keep pushing them faster and faster so that, our heads will be spinning like,
that's right.
Wait a minute.
Whiplash.
We gotta fix that. Nope, you don't get to. It's over. That the Overton window has passed you by.
That's right. Well, Brightmore makes an interesting observation. Rubio tells us we are entering a new order. The world is changing very fast right in front of us. The old world is gone. We live in a new era of geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like and what our role is going to be.
Give me liberty or give me death. That's my worldview.
Yeah, well, Rubio has gone to some conference in Europe, and he is there promoting this agenda.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, folks, we're going to have to keep an eye on you through all your devices, and you're not allowed to turn them off. We're going to keep an eye on everybody from now on forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't trust you.
The head monk, when he would do his talks, he referred to our devices as your lover, and you can't be away from your lover. You've got to learn to not be away, not always turn to your lover for everything.
Mine is not my lover. Mine is my antagonist.
That's right. Your thorn in your side.
Well, it's just a constant battle, with me trying to get some truth out there, and the obfuscation just getting piled on and piled on and shoveled on.
Imagine that says, we were distracted by the next dumpster fire, creating another mass psychosis. Yeah, that's that whole notion that today's top story gets forgotten so quickly. These, like you said, they have all of this other stuff planned for us over the next few years and decades to keep our heads spinning and forgetting about what we thought was important last week.
I made a comment on X this morning. Nobody picked up on it, but I will resonate it here. Have the liberals decided to use love as a means of interacting with MAGA people?
Why on earth do you think that?
Because of Bad Bunny. Because everybody loves, that love is the answer. Okay, so love is the answer. So, and the reason that I said it really is because on my Facebook reels, there's a young woman that appears to be a master of psychology in some way, like an academic psychologist. And she's very, very gracefully explaining why it is that rural people, MAGA people, see things differently from us. And it turns out that the problem is about morality. Rural people have a morality that is based on the center needs that they need to protect. First the self, then the family, then the community or the church, and then perhaps outside of that, the nation, and then maybe even the world, and then humanity as in general. But they are focused on the closest needs. They don't look at those ones that are kind of distant needs or distant moral concerns. So their morality is more focused on what they or their family, their community, they need.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas our morality is more focused on the global need.
Wait, our.
Yeah, our. Yeah.
Who is our? Who is us?
The psychologist and her liberal idiot friends.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So it just pissed me off from the moment I started watching it. And she has 3 or 4 other ones that I said, look, if you want to know why MAGA people disagree with you, go ask them. Just go down to some little town and knock on a door and say, you guys are all red state people. Why don't you have global values like we do? Or why didn't you vote for Vice President Harris for president? Why didn't you vote for, why in the world, why would you vote for this idiot, this horrible human being, Trump? Why? And give them a chance to tell you. But no, instead of doing that, they want to psychologically analyze them from a distance and give you the expert opinion as to why MAGA people are so stupid. That pisses me off.
Well, what I find shocking is that well-educated people are going to claim that their top priority is the world at large. That's bullshit. That's total bullshit. Because if that were true, you would do what those monks did and give up all possessions, give up your very cozy home, give up your expensive foreign-made car, and go everywhere by foot and wear robes and take whatever food people are willing to give you in order to benefit the larger world. That's baloney. Everybody, that their top priority is themselves and their families and their immediate communities, period. I don't care what your political ideology, unless you are some kind of a person who has given up all physical comforts for some spiritual ideology. And even then, sometimes that spiritual ideology can be that thing that gives you strength and energy and hope. But there is nobody who puts their needs secondary, who puts their family's needs, their children's needs, their community needs secondary to the world at large. Just look around. We're all running around taking care of ourselves. That's normal human nature. And to claim otherwise is totally either naive or stupid, or it's just completely an out and out intentional lie just for the purpose of stirring things up.
It's a psyop.
It's a psyop.
It's a psyop, and this is where things, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is where the pussy hat thing came from. It's a psyop. They want you to stop thinking about you, your family, your community, your church, if you've even got one, and to focus on this big idea of TDS, and look how horrible this Trump guy is, and drop everything and fight Trump, and don't talk to him. Don't talk to those MAGA people, because they are they are the evil ones. They are beyond saving, and so we just have to fight them. And that attitude just pisses me off, and I've been facing it for 6 years now.
Yeah. Well, but again, this characterization of everybody is either in this column or in that column
Hegelian dialectic
just drives me insane.
Yeah, and that's what makes me mad about choosing something deliberately divisive for the Super Bowl too.
Right. Well, and we've got some commenters here.
Yeah.
Brightmore says, Psyop, who just happened to win a Grammy before the Super Bowl, toned down the profanity in his performance, but his songs are the usual mixture of hedonism and profanity. Yeah, probably. I don't know. And so that's interesting to hear, Brightmore. But, then again, it's one of the reasons I'm not that familiar with pop culture is because there is so much of that.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are out there singing about hedonism and profanity and other things.
Yeah. They want us to be thinking, like animals. They want. This is what I think is so beautiful about Harley Schlanger's and the LaRouche philosophy, is that people are not animals. People are different. People have,
we are animals. We're a higher level of animal.
We are a high level. We are a different level than the animals that we're familiar with, except maybe dolphins, maybe some.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very intelligent animals, but we still have animal instincts.
But I don't want to take away from what Harley and those folks say is that we have to have an attitude of we are different. We're custodians of this place. We are smart enough to predict, bad things and avert them. We are smart enough to share knowledge. We can talk and we can get better, and the betterment of who we are through working together in a respectful way. And I think all we really need is the golden rule. The idea that I'm not going to do anything to you that I wouldn't want you to do to me.
Right.
And, so no, would I go over to Thailand and steal children so I can make a deal with some Arab sheik that likes them? No, I won't do that. Do we have people in our military that will do it? I'm afraid I think that we do.
Yeah.
And because they're doing it, because they're following orders, because somebody said, this is your duty. You have to do this because we have to make this deal with this sheik, and there's a different culture over there, and you just don't understand it, but just, just fly the damn plane and get it done.
Garden Girl notes, social media has cornered us into information silos. The left gets their news feed and the MAGAs get theirs, all by design. All by design. Yes, exactly. exactly. We actually that's a good point because and hello, Garden Girl. Thank you for being here. It's as if we all live in two different worlds.
That's what I like about this chat that you and I have is because you are still looking at, if there still is, a Washington Post,
Uh-huh.
and I haven't looked at the Washington Post in 20 years,
Uh-huh.
and I get almost all my news from Twitter. I mean, I should say X, or related stuff because of the various podcasters that I follow. I don't get any news from the New York Times. I don't get anything from the Post or
Mhm.
any other major newspapers. And, so I have usually a whole different stack of, what are the 5 top stories of the week than you would come up with based on what you see. And yet here we are having a very, very fun, pleasant conversation.
But now wait a minute. Don't characterize me as getting all of my news from the Washington Post.
Okay.
I have other news sources as well. Probably none that would be characterized as right-leaning. I would like to have some that are right-leaning, but I've yet to find one that I am comfortable with because I don't want extremism. And unfortunately, the ones that I have sought out tend to be extremist and use a lot of language that I think is inappropriate. Um, I think some of the traditional media, like Washington Post and others of that ilk, they hide behind a curtain of objectivity, and I think I'm smart enough to see through that. But yeah, no, I don't just get my news from the Washington Post. I have other sources.
Of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's a comment about the Washington Post there from Imagine That at the bottom if you want to pick that one up.
The Washington Post is actively integrating AI across its operations, focusing on personalized audio content, reader engagement bots, and editorial efficiency. Oh, I believe that. I believe that. And some of it, I think, is it is overt, and some of it is not. And I do try to pay attention to that. Or what do you look? You're looking at some of the other comments?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, things that have been on my mind this week. And
Well, on Brightmore's mind is Trump withdrawing from another climate agreement to further hamstring the Agenda 2030 mafia. He's asking why did Trump do this? To reduce the amount of environmental scrutiny on the burgeoning data centers. Yeah, that whole data center thing. Yeah,
we don't like it.
possibly.
We don't like it at all. And yeah, just like the Washington Post is going to be AI driven. Well, they're going to need they're going to need some data centers to
Exactly.
manage all that computing.
Brightmore also notes that, excuse me, the Brookings Institute, an NGO, just released a 5-point strategy for data center builders on ways to embrace local communities. Very interesting. I might have to go look for that since there appears to be a data center effort here just down the river from us.
Yep, not far, but 12 miles from here.
Yeah, 12 miles upriver.
But you mentioned a little while, or who was it that mentioned abrogating some climate treaty or something?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't notice that. What I did notice was that Trump has signed an executive order that the military can use coal as a fuel source.
Mm-hmm. Fossil fuels, yeah.
And all kinds of, that's supposed to be making all the coal miners happy so they can go back to work and,
Yeah, our military base, little further upriver from here, they transitioned from coal to natural gas probably about, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less than that, but they're still using natural gas. Yeah, this is the comment that you had referenced. And also Trump, just yesterday, under the Trump administration, the Environmental Protection Agency issued, and I'm not gonna say it right, but they reversed a position on environmental threats, which pretty much takes the federal government out of all environmental regulation.
Hmm.
So they invalidated reports from the past that show the need for environmental regulation.
It, there's a psyop behind every single story and every bit of American history during our lifetimes. There's something behind it. Like, and when you talk about environmental regulations, and I remember when I was in law school, the big case was the snail darter, and this little snail darter thing that was going to go extinct if they built a certain dam
Mhm,
in Tennessee.
mhm.
And so I think that they stopped the dam by holding up this little snail darter as a victim. That was interesting. When I took my final examination in law school in environmental law, which I did study, I took a course in it from William Rogers of the University of Washington Law School, the author of my text. And they took down a bunch of trees on the approach to National Airport over across the river from us in Virginia. And that had been in the news recently, so he made that the essay question. So what should they do? And I said, well, they're going to have to put back all the trees, and they're going to have to make sure that those trees mature and are not inhibited in any way from their growth. And the guy, he gave me an A+ on my essay.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I never did practice environmental law, but I guess I understood the concept. And yet, then things start happening like these pristine rivers in like Indian reservations in places. They've built some kind of a dam to um, prevent something, but and then a lot of bad chemicals get stacked up there, and then the dam bursts, and the chemicals go down and they destroy the water source for the whole uh, Indian community, or other things like that have been happening since then, like the rail disasters and the spilling of the toxic gases, and all of this stuff could very well be mafia type scams in order to get more money for contractors to come out and remediate the damage that was done.
Ah,
And then who's a good contractor to do that? Or how about Waste Management Inc., or somebody's, you see where I'm going with it. And I think that there's a lot to that, because just like with this pandemic, I think we are being subjected to criminal conspiracies to rob us, taking advantage of our legal system and using it against us. So if the federal government gets out of the business of environmental regulation, then maybe that will put some people out of business, and maybe it will encourage local people to take care of their own environment. Because if the government has the jurisdiction over all the dams in the country or all the rivers, through whatever laws, then the local people will just, well, I can't do anything about that. I can't stop it. Whereas that's what we need in environment is local. And look what happened in the Potomac River last week. Did you
right.
see that?
Oh, yeah.
This is the worst environmental spill
A sewage spill, a
Sewage spill.
huge sewage pipe burst upriver from us in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is on the other side of Washington, D.C. from us, and spilled tons and tons and tons of raw sewage into the Potomac River.
And it's still there.
It's still there, working its way downstream.
It's huge.
Yep.
And they let that happen, through neglect, through not funding it. We've got to send more money to Zelensky instead of fixing
but that's a local problem. That was the local sewer system.
Oh,
I think. But it's not a sewer system that's been built by the federal government, and that is because the sewer systems are run by the small local communities.
So it could be, a town in Maryland that caused it, or a county.
Yeah.
Like Montgomery County?
Yeah, like their sewer infrastructure. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we do need an environmental protection agency. I beg your pardon. That is one of the great ironies of what's going on, of course, when you talk about federalism.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that in the time of the creation of the Constitution and that around then, the biggest problem in the country was the state legislatures that were being affected by private interests and issuing notes and doing things that were just completely bad for the common person as well as for the general economy. They were being abused. A lot of them were.
Right.
And so the idea of being a federalist back then was to federate all of these things into a central decision-making authority. Whereas now we have this thing called the Federalist Society, which is trying to reverse that, which is trying to say, no, give the power back to the states. And so, yeah, it's easier for a state government to be corrupt, or it was, than the federal government.
I think they're all corrupt. They're all
corrupt. At this point, oh my God. Yeah.
To say which is one is more corrupt than the other is impossible. They're all corrupt. And in fact, imagine that says, because they have stolen all the money we have paid in taxes for the sewage and never upgraded the system. And similarly, Garden Girl notes, it could be the age of the infrastructure that supports the treatment plant. The bitter cold temps don't help. And that's true too. The bitter cold temps don't help. But, Road Warrior notes, get less more on the job pronto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, poor Governor Moore is busy trying to get that invite to the White House that was rescinded.
Hey, he went to Oxford. He was a Rhodes Scholar. Come on, he should be invited to the White House.
Absolutely.
I mean, how in the world is the president ever going to learn what's going on in the world if he doesn't let the Rhodes Scholars come in and tell him?
Right, but he specifically didn't want more, and the governor of Colorado and specifically said, nope, those are two, I don't know what words he used to describe them, but bad guys that we don't want.
And that connects me to, I was just watching the Schiller Institute's video hosted by Dennis Speed, in which he's interviewing Harley Schlanger and Garland Nixon. And they are just really tearing into it. The theme of it is, it's the British, stupid. And this is where I think, people have just they just can't get past that. I mean, I don't know whether it's they love the pomp and circumstance or the idea that we are all, that's the mother country, or it's just the propaganda from the Cold War and NATO and the Atlantic, Alliance. Everything that we study from the time of Truman to now has been the British influence coming back into the United States, subtly taking over our institutions and turning our policy into an imperial policy, as a complete opposite of what John F. Kennedy would have done.
Have you seen all of the hoo-ha about the latest release of the Epstein papers are having a huge impact on people on people powerful people here yet, but a lot of that's because their names have been redacted, but huge impact in Britain. And there's actually predictions that Starmer is gonna end up having to resign, not because of any involvement he had with Epstein, but because his cabinet and his administration, or whatever it's called there in Britain, have been so enmeshed with Epstein, which makes sense given Ghislaine's Maxwell's connections over there.
Yeah, the guy Mandelson, who was the ambassador to the United
Prince of
States,
Darkness, yeah.
has been definitely identified in the Epstein papers. And since we're talking about it, I posted this yesterday on my X feed, and it's a really kind of sad thing to say, but here's what, and I will stand by this opinion today. I think this is going to be my opinion until I'm proven wrong. Everybody in the U.S. government that is in a position of policy that can affect policy has already voluntarily corrupted themselves by going to the island or going to the ranch or going to Thailand or going somewhere else, knowing they're going to be videotaped, doing something that they know is illegal in the U.S. in order to be in the club. And you can't get to a position of power, a position where you might change your mind. You've got to allow yourself to be corrupted. And I don't care what party you're in. I don't think it has anything to do with party. It's all about, if you want to put your head up and get into the government, then you're going to have to become an insider. And once you're inside, you don't talk about it, you
Right.
know? And that is my current sad conclusion as to what I'm learning from the Epstein files.
As
That's
far
settled.
as being proven wrong, I predict that that'll never happen because you're not wrong, because nobody can prove you wrong, because what you just described is absolutely right on target. It's completely accurate. In order to get into a position of power, you have to sell your soul. And they've all been corrupted, every one of them.
Satanic.
Yeah, boy, imagine that says Epstein is embedded in our collective psychic now and forever. My 17-year-old granddaughter is even consumed with it. That's horrifying that 17-year-old girls are consumed, are drawn into this narrative. I mean, I suppose in some ways it's good that 17-year-old girls are made aware of the fact that there are predators out there. And all of those shiny situations that seem so exciting are incredibly dangerous, because if you know the story of Epstein and the 17-year-old girls that got, and I'm talking specifically Virginia Giuffre getting drawn into that circle, but still it's horrifying that this is the topic that we are discussing, that teenagers are aware of what of the disgusting behavior of grown-ups. It's got to be somewhat disillusioning to be a teenager and to look at the world around you and see people behaving so very horribly.
I can only hope that it will swing the pendulum back the other way, and that people will be disgusted with it and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to live like that anymore. I will offer that. There are ancient cultures in which using children for sexual gratification was a privilege, I'm sure, of the elites, was a privilege of, the local, big guy,
Mm-hmm.
big person, and that type of unlimited power over the people is still existing in places in the world. You know, I
Right.
mean, and we have places called the kingdom, for instance. We have places that sheiks and people that have the sense of this heredity power, this I am of that kingly class, that and my predecessors have done this. It is part of our culture.
Yes.
It's a part of our culture, and we're not going to give it up. And damn it, I think these people are surfacing. They're coming out and they're saying, "Look, you can't defeat us. We're everywhere."
Brightmore says it's no different than having to murder someone to become a made man in the mafia.
It is different because we're talking about children, but it's the same principle.
Well, and we're also not talking about, the mafia is not the government. These aren't people who are elected or appointed to run the country.
But this is why John F. Kennedy was murdered, in order to allow this disgusting culture to take over.
Wahhead Rex says no other intel agency would exploit such a system. Virginia was a sparrow. I'm not really quite sure what you're saying there, Wahhead. More, please. Virginia Giuffre, I think, was a very, very brave woman, and willing to come forward. Everybody says, talks about the fact that Epstein was convicted of soliciting for underage prostitution in 2008, but that was a plea deal. He had been charged and originally investigated for so much more, because Virginia Giuffre did come forward and did blow the whistle and did speak out. And then he ended up getting, a slap on the wrist. And in the time that he served, he was allowed all kinds of benefits, including work release, and he didn't have to stick around the jail. He could go out and, enjoy his freedom. It's crazy.
Corky says, "Undo the coup, 1963." Yeah, thank you, Corky. That's my cry. Undo the coup.
Well, and there was a comment earlier, and we kind of went off. Here we go. Road Warrior says, I'm not sure if the Great Reset will take us back to the 1930s, 1860s, 1054, or even the Bronze Age collapse, but it's one hell of a show. And that's really interesting. There has been corruption, throughout the ages. Is it to the level that it is now? Don't know, but the Great Reset, what would that take us back to? But at least it would take us back to 1963.
Well, here's a really interesting point that was made on a video from the Alex Jones show. It wasn't Alex Jones, it was another of his reporters. And the reporter said, "Isn't it interesting that when challenged by Congress, Pam Bondi, on the Epstein files, she went ballistic. She said, 'Why are we always talking about the Epstein files? Look, the Dow is over 50,000. All of this amazing stuff is happening, and why can't we just put the Epstein files to bed?'" And of course, back and forth with Massey and everybody. But here's what this reporter said, and I really think this is it. The Dow is over 50,000 because it has all the dirty money in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you go prosecuting Les Wexner and the associates of Jeffrey Epstein and putting them in jail, that money's going out. They're not going to leave their money in the stock market. And guess what? You really will be back to the Bronze Age devastation.
So you're saying that all of these corrupt businessmen are too big to fail?
too big to fail. That's exactly what I'm saying. They have gotten to this point where, all of this, all the money is in like Nvidia and all of these, AI corporations and the AI associated building and all of that. That's where they're parking their money. If they pull that money out, what's left in our economy anymore? We've destroyed our productivity.
So should they get away with what they have done?
There's got to be an off ramp. There's got to be an off ramp for everybody to get out of this system, because this is just getting worse and worse and worse. And not only that, the dollar will crash. The dollar will crash, and then the stock market will crash. And they will take their money out and put it in gold bullion somewhere and wait out the crash. And then they'll come in and buy every single thing that we lost because of the crash. It's the old British system. It is. I agree with Harley Schlanger and Garland Nixon. It is the British. They're the brains behind this inhuman policy, foreign policy. My opinion.
Imagine that says, it sure seems that way. Too big to fail. The ultimate scam.
I think you've named it.
Well, I think, to say that to Congress, she's just gaslighting Congress. Don't pay attention to this bad thing that's happening here. Let's redirect your attention to this good thing over here. That's just gaslighting.
Well, why do you say gaslighting? I'm not seeing the metaphor.
When you pretend that something bad isn't really happening by redirecting attention.
Okay. All right.
That's a form of gaslighting.
Is it?
I think so. That's in my opinion.
So yeah, well, I think she was obviously very bad at it. I mean, all the conservative commentators I've seen say, "Why is she so terrible at it? Why can't they get somebody else? Get a new attorney general?" And the answer is, I think, as someone said in the chat, this is Trump's policy. She's being loyal to Trump.
That's right. Right. Well, I imagine that said Trump wrote her script.
That's it.
Yep. She was very loyal to Trump.
Yeah.
Every chance that she got, she could talk. She would talk about what a great president he is, and she's very, very loyal to him, as she should be. I mean, that's part of her job.
Right, but
I'm not saying she's right, but I'm saying she should be loyal to the president that appointed her.
She filibustered the hell out of Jerry Nadler. I know that.
Tell me about that. I'm not aware of that.
Oh, you just got to watch it. It's just a mutual shouting match.
Oh my!
She shouldn't. She can't filibuster my time. And she's like saying, "Oh, the 50,000 over 50,000," and they're shouting and shouting. And so there you go. It's the unbreachable chasm between the left and the right.
Well, I did have to laugh when she, resorted to telling somebody they have Trent derangement syndrome. I just think it's hysterical that's become part of the dialogue that our leaders use.
Oh yeah.
Trump talks about it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but you expect it from Trump. I don't expect it from other people, but oh well.
Thomas Massey was getting harassed by some reporter, yelling at him, he's walking along. And so Massey stops and turns to him and says, "I think your puberty blockers are wearing off." And then he walked away.
What does that mean?
It's an insult, that's all.
It's a nonsensical insult.
Okay. That's what he said. I can't defend it. I just thought it was cute.
I think it's disgusting.
All right, it's disgusting and cute. They're coming in. Yeah. Oh boy. I don't think that's ever gonna be done.
Imagine that said there, coming out with a vaccine for TDS, just
I-
in case somebody's not looking at the screen.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh, please.
It's about time. But, then Trump will be gone and we'll have either J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom, as they call him.
Or Ocasio-Cortez.
No. AOC is not going to be the president of the United States, even in the context of the president of the United States being completely controlled by the deep state.
We'll see.
She's not going to be the puppet. Somebody else has got to be the puppet.
We'll see.
No,
I think you're right, though. I do think I know that she is raising money for something. But yeah, no, I was being a bit ironic. I don't think that I agree with you. I'm not sure that, you know what? I am not sure that we are ready for a president with an Hispanic name. Not an Hispanic president, but a president with an Hispanic name.
why not?
Because I think that there is an image right now, a very negative image of Hispanics. I mean, that was part of.
We elected Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have an American name.
No, he didn't.
He has a Muslim name.
He has a Muslim name.
So
yeah.
why, if we can elect a man with a Muslim name, why can't we elect a woman with a Hispanic name?
I just think that it colors people's perception. You could elect an Hispanic, but it would have to be somebody like Bill Richardson, who I realize is not in play. But here is this governor of a state who is Hispanic, but he doesn't have an Hispanic name, so it's not threatening. I think that there is something threatening about Hispanic names right now.
Okay. Is that why he chose Bad Bunny instead of a Spanish name?
Which, by the way, his Spanish name is Ocasio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, then
I don't think there's a relationship. I don't know. I don't think they're related, but
she just needs to get with it and be Bad Bunny for president.
Maybe.
Excuse me. We're both overcoming this cold that we've had, I guess, out of the flu or virus or whatever the hell it is. It lingers. It's like 3 weeks now.
Yeah, you start feeling better and you're able to get up and move about, but yeah, your nose still runs and your chest still stays congested, and it goes on and on and on. And everybody I talk to who's had it says that this is the way it works. So, well, imagine that says Bad Bunny for 2032.
Yeah, this could be the beginning.
Mawhead Rex says Obama exploited the black church rhetorical tone. Yeah, that's, actually a very good point, is that Barack Obama, in spite of his Muslim name, appealed to liberals and of course to the black community.
Yeah, that was his job.
Yep. And who knows, it is, I don't think the Hispanic community is as percentage-wise as large as the black community yet, though I do think it is growing, but I could be wrong about that. But, of course, the minute you start talking about the Latin community, then everybody starts questioning whether or not these Latinos are here legally. Because if you're Latino, then, you're suspected of not being here legally, even if your family has been here for generations.
When people say things like that, I just that's not my experience. I don't know anybody that looks askance at a Latino as if they were, guilty of sneaking in the country and having possibly nefarious ends.
I don't know them personally, but I know that there are scads of them out there. They're called ICE officials. And if you look Latino, if you sound Latino, if you have a Latino name,
you're talking about ICE officials,
then you are going to be targeted.
Yeah. I think that, but on the other hand, they've got intelligence that's going to say, maybe Pedro here is hiding his uncle,
or not.
Yeah.
What about the Irish lady who gets arrested and put in jail for 5 months because she came here as a child. She grew up here legally. And then 20 years ago, she passed a bad check for under $75. And now she's being arrested and threatened with deportation.
I never heard that.
Yeah. Things like that are happening. Things like that are happening.
Free trip to Ireland, I'd go.
Actually, she had just come back from Ireland to go to an aunt's funeral. And that's when she was arrested, was returning to the country. So, yeah, I mean, this intel that somebody is doing something wrong, a lot of people are being picked up. Get rid of the criminals. I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. But there are a lot of people who are being picked up simply because.
Well, just be peaceful, folks. Even if they're thugs, they got badges, and you got to just get out of the way.
Anyway, I've lost that whole love thing. So as we're wrapping it up, we need to take a deep breath and remember, love is the answer.
And inside of an ICE agent, there's a heart of gold.
There you go.
It's all about love. Love, it really is at the bottom line. It's if you deny that, then you're going to end up taking that Faustian bargain and running for Congress.
So thank you, everyone, for being here and for not taking that Faustian bargain. And happy Valentine's Day. We love you.
Thank you, sweetheart. We love everybody, and we will see you here Friday next week for Marcia and John's Friday Live Chat.